everybody, nice to see you here. If you're still with me, then I guess you already made previous lessons of Adobe App Builder basics. If not, feel free to check them out, because we're going step by step and building our nice Adobe App Builder applications. Today we will touch the frontend, so let's make our frontend a bit more fancier. And also we'll touch the key value storage, so the way how you want to save or how you can save your data into persistent storage, so you can reuse them later on. And without any breaks, let's jump into the code. If you remember, on the last one, we ended up to have the hello action with button, and that's it. Looks not very nice, I would say, so we can make it nicer. Adobe has the native frontend components, which called Adobe reactspectrum. Here they are. So they look quite, okay, that's not how they look, but they look quite nice, and you can reuse all those components to build the frontend you want to. You can have tables, buttons, all the stuff, and it's also make it make your frontend look similar within between all your applications. If you have multiple of them, or in Adobe Commerce world, it will look similar as all other Adobe services you're using around. So basically all Adobe landscape looks the same, more or less, because they're all using the same front-end components. And what we will try to do today, we will try to add them into our project. So let's come back to the code. That's again already close. That's our example command. We close this one. What do we have here? We have still index.html file. That's the file we want to make looks a bit nicer. And for that, we will use the Adobe reactspectrum, so means we will use React components. What we want to do today, because I want also to have some real use cases, so what I want to do, I want to build the possibility, let's say, to save your customer's first name, last name, and the status of your customer into the persistent storage of a builder, and then nicely display it on the front end. So let's rename our app to some user management application. Agent, not agent, application, and then let's go. So what we will do now, as we are doing the reactspectrum application now, we will replace our content with a new content, which will come from React. So let's define the root element, then let's go to our JavaScript file and start to modify it. So what we need to install, we also need to update our packages also, because we need, we want to have the React available for us, and we want to have reactspectrum components available for us. So means we will add some new stuff there. So we already have adobeio SDK, we have XApp installed, and then for our case we will add reactspectrum. Clear, we will add React, we will add some icons just to make it look nice. React DOM and UID just for internal identifier, because as I said before, we will have customers being saved in persistent storage. So just going in advance, we need to identify them somehow, and I prefer to use UID for this. Let's install it. So, and what we will do there, we will go to our standalone application, we will add some new imports. Let's drop this one, it's already here. So we will have React, we will have React DOM client for root, and we have the app, which will hold our reactspectrum. All other will stay more or less the same, despite we would need, after the runtime is ready, we need to add our app. So to the root, which we, by the way, don't have. I hope it will work. Good. So we get an element root, creating it. Now let's create the app file. Let's put it here. And this can be quite big. Sorry that I'm not typing it here fully and I just copy paste it. So because within your React or within your app file, you define your components, so you build in your front end. What are we doing here? Let's just go one by one. We import the elements we want to have. What we want to build the table. So we need a table, we need some buttons, and we need some another components like table header, body, column, row, cell, action buttons, text, and so on. So you if you don't know them and you don't need to know them also, you have to go to Adobe React Spectrum documentation because it's all imported from React Spectrum. We'll have a delete button just for the icon. We'll have any initial data, so that's some dummy data we want to display because at the first point we just rendered the table and showing it. Then we have our application been rendered, which has different states here. We have save handler. So let's deploy it first because then you will see how it looks like, and it will be much easier to understand what I'm talking about. I hope it will work from the first time. I have no idea. So let's give it a try. Okay, that's our application basically. We have here, let's have a look. What do we have? We have initial data that's rendered in a table. We have here that's our front end more or less. So if you're familiar with React Spectrum, I guess it's everything clear for you. It's even not clear fully for me because I'm really not the front end developer, but I'm also learning. So I understand what I'm writing, but I don't know everything for sure. But I mean, we're creating the table with columns, data. We have our data map, which is coming from our, sorry, not from here, from our initial data. We have also here the text field picker and a button. So that's for having the text be defining the status of the customer as example. We have a button here, which will render it. On press of this button, we're doing the handler save. So it's executing this function. We also have a delete button. If you'll go here, here is it. And we also have a function for handle delete. And if you'll click here, I mean, it just will delete row for now. If you'll refresh it, you will have it again. Fun fact, by the way, about the Adobe Experience Cloud Console, if you just will refresh the page, you will not see it again. Because the app is not published. And by this reason, you need to open it again. Yes. And then, for example, if you will have some test user, it just will be adhered to the end. So that's what our current code, as you see here, is doing. By the way, the whole code I will publish on a GitHub in a public repo. If you want to have a look and check it out, feel free. Okay, good. So that's basically how the React Spectrum works. Looks quite easy and also looks quite nice, I would say, much better than I create it usually myself. Good. So let's then go to the next step. What we want to do? We want to learn the Adobe Builder persistent storage. Currently, Adobe Builder has two persistent storage. This key value storage, with saving key value objects, and file storage, with saving the data in the files. So you can save any type of content there. You can save JSON, you can save CSV, some other formats, and so on. Just quickly, we'll show you the official documentation of the state storage. Here is it, IO lib state. And you can also find that here's the documentation which will, oh, nice, it's not linked here. But I mean, you can check this documentation. We will save our customers into the key value storage. So you can use this AO lib state so that you have to that's something you have to install if you want to use it. So let's just do it. So yeah, let's install here the module. Nice. Then as a next step, you can require it. Then you need to initialize it, and then you can also initialize by the region, like EMEA, US. That's quite important if you want to know where your data will be saved. Then the main function is basically quite easy. It's CRUD standard setup. It's a get, put, delete. You can also have any states and delete all if you want to. In this case, you define in the match, so with like delete multiple entities. Good. Let's go to practice. I mean, that's much more interesting than just show you the official docs. What are we doing here? We want to, no, I'm wrong again, and again wrong. So let's go to our actions. So that's our React file, which currently just setting up the new value to the static content. So not saving into the persistent storage. We want to save it into the persistent storage. So Means we need to add several actions. First action we need to do is to save customer, and another action is to delete customer. So let's just do them. And yeah, and I forgot, we need also one action to list the customers. I have a privilege to just copy paste them. So I'm pasting them into the action directory, here the users. So we're creating the folder users, we have save, list, and delete. And I'll go to each of them for sure. And then we need to define them in our app config YAML. Those close to our hello action, we define in the save, list, and delete. They're all web yes because we will call them from frontend, and they all require adobeio true. So we only will call them through shell, and we have to be sure that that's a private data and it's not be hijacked. And as you see, we define here the functions again. The full path to the location is actions user save. So there they are. We'll start with the list, right? Because what we want to do, we want to list the list of the customers from our persistent storage. As I showed you before, we initialize the library, we initialize in the state, and then we have the whole keys of the customers. What we will do, because it's a key value storage, it's not a table, right? You cannot save it as a complex data. So we define in the key as a user underscore and then UID of this user, and then all other data will be stored as a JSON inside of the value. So that's why we are doing here, we get in all elements or all keys which started with prefix user. And in this case, we're receiving like all the values, so means we were receiving all users. Then we go in for each of those keys and we get in the JSON, parsing it, and returning back the information about the user, so which contains the first name, last name, and status. As you can see, I'm also using logger here. That's quite good point for it. So the logger is possible if you can use logger to log the data, and you can use the New Relic for log forwarding if you want to. You can use Splunk for log forwarding if you want to, or you can just log data to output in your console if you want to. So what are we doing here? We're receiving the list of the users, we just log in them, so just to see how many of them are found. That's not required step. Let's simplify a bit now. And then we're returning the list of the users, and that's it. So that's the whole action, actually. And that what we need to do, we need to change our app JS6 to receive list of users. Okay, now let's go to our app file and just change it. So the change it in relation to the new actions we have. Again, I have a privilege to copy paste it. So yeah, I mean, that's nothing changed. We define in the API base to know like the path of our application. As we have here, it's a sample app. So it's API v1 web sample app. That's all prefix of all actions we will do. We will have. Then what do we have? We have the get headers, which is the same as we used before when we been on a previous session in MS standalone, because MS standalone is getting us or setting up those EMS into the window action or window parameter. So we're receiving them here to define the headers for every request, because when you hit the button, you want to send a request to the server. Then we load user on the page load, which is quite easy, right? And then when you're doing the load user, we're setting up the loader, and then we call an API endpoint list users with the headers we defined, and we're receiving data and displaying them. So that looks quite similar, quite easy, right? Let's deploy all this stuff that we have here. I know we didn't touch yet the save and delete. We'll come to this. I just want to do the get list first. So as you can see, our actions been deployed. We have now save, list, and delete, those three actions here, which are web actions. And after that, if we'll open in this URL, we have to have the empty table because we don't have any users yet. We have some errors. Let's have a look on them. Clever. So let's redeploy it again. Sorry for that. So let's try again. So here's our list users, and we get in the empty value. Cool. Let's now check how we're saving the values. So we have here two another actions. It's handle save and handle delete. So in save handler, just doing the same as get list, just calling the save user with name as a parameter and active status. And those are being set here, and as we see here, we have here on selection change, which is set in active, and set name, which is defined in the constants. So yeah, and the same happened with delete. So for delete, we get in the ID, and ID, as you understand, it's something we generate in when we save in the new user, which is happening on the backend. So that's what we check on the front-end part. Wait, what did I change? And let's then have a look how the actions looks like. So for the save action, we have again name and active status. Then we generate in our UID. That's what I said why we need UID library in advance. Then we define in the key, defining the user data as a JSON, initializing the state lib, put in the value key, and then the data of our user, which is the JSON data, and then just saved. That's it. So nothing else you need to do. One important point, when you're doing the put, so the key value storage is persistent, but it's not persistent forever. So you define in the TTL the time to leave for every the key you create in. And there is a maximum TTL, which is 1 year. 1 year till you resave your value. So basically, if you save this customer data and in 1 year you are not touching it, it will be erased later on. That's the negative side of the key value storage, and you need to live with it if you still want to use it. So in best case, you need to save the values there which had short time to live, or the values which you resave frequently so you're not losing them. If you want to have a really persistent storage, we need to go to the file storage, and we will have a look at it in the next session. Or the document database, which will come in release on next year. Again, when you're watching this video, it's maybe already there. So yeah, I'm setting up here the max TTL, so for 1 year, but just for you to be aware. And as we're already here, let's check in the delete, and it's exactly the same. It's receiving the ID from the parameters, and then just doing state delete. That's it. So it's very simple operations, which you can apply, and they integrate it quite easily in the flow. So and what we can do, we can use some test user, then save it, and here is it. So you can check the action. You have active user is receiving ID, and then test demo user or whatever else is there, and then an active status. Let's do some more. User 3, user 4 or 5, whatever. And then when you, for example, next time, several days later, come in and open your application, you will see those users are here. And then if you want to delete one, you just hit the delete button and it will be removed. And if you'll come back again sometime later, you will not see it here. So that's it. So that's quite easy how you can work with key value storage. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them. I will try to cover them additionally. And I hope to see you in next videos. So next one will be about the file storage. Bye bye.